Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joe's Metal Mancave. We're going to do another collection update here today, although I'm going to kind of officially title this a collection update catch-up. And what I mean by that is, I have some albums here that I bought quite a while ago, anywhere from about 6 months ago to a year ago. I don't know who invented the term collection update. I don't know if that stems, directly from underground heavy metal people doing these kind of videos, or it's from something else on YouTube. I don't know. And I don't know what the rules are. These are albums I really wanted to talk about, and I think they're all really good, and yeah, man, we're gonna do it. So today I am drinking a Nitro Thick Mint Stout. I used to do this on my old channel. I'd always show the beer I was drinking, and I kind of stopped doing it when I started this channel. I don't know why, but there's a guy I like, been following his videos on YouTube called Life Eternal. He does some really cool videos, very comparable to mine, black metal, death metal, all that kind of stuff. And he always shows his beer, so I thought I'd bring that back. Very good beer. Very boozy, mint and chocolatey. It's wonderful. If you like craft beer, this is definitely worth looking up. Alright, here we go. To kick things off, we're going to talk about a band that I guess I discovered way back in 2000. There used to be a metal store on the northeast side of town, in my hometown here, and it was a nice little place. It was like a little hole in the wall, but they had a shit ton of CDs, and I discovered this band via Napster back then. Really liked it, and I got their first couple albums back then. I liked them, and there was a point in time when I had the first, I think, 5 albums this band had released. But, as it goes over time, your tastes change and you realize stuff is not as good as you once thought. So, I sold their first 2 albums, but their third and fourth albums are still just total masterpieces to me. And, although this band started out in a much more, I guess, Viking folk style that was typical of the late 90s, they eventually switched singers and went in a more, I guess, sort of a darker metal kind of sound, while still sort of incorporating that Viking folk kind of feel to their music. It's almost comparable, I think, to something like the newer Moonstar records. It's just sort of that dark, epic, heavy kind of Viking metal sound. So the band in question, I should probably have said that already, is Thyrfing, and their newest album, Gandar. Yeah, so this was a total surprise for me. I had no idea the band was even together. They hadn't released a new album since 2013, so we're talking almost like a 10-year gap between albums. This just sort of randomly showed up last year, and I was like, holy shit! I saw on someone's Instagram account they were posting. In fact, it was actually the old singer of the band. He was posting about it, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude, that's so awesome, man! It was so cool to see that they were back together. And then, as luck would have it, the local record store that I usually shop at, they had in stock. So, lots of awesome stuff really happening all at once, man. So what can I say about this album? As I was sort of, starting to talk about, somewhere along the way, Thyrfing went into more of a dark, epic Viking kind of sound. Again, kind of comparable to Moonstar, but the songs aren't as long, of course, and it's. Lyrics aren't Finnish. This band's from Sweden, and all the lyrics aren't Swedish. Really just cool album, just really good riffs, just a really epic and just majestic kind of mood throughout this record. Heavy and just in your face kind of music. I've played this one a lot. This has kind of felt like more of an album to play on sunny, warmer days, which actually today isn't the case. It's a warm but very rainy day here in my hometown, but nevertheless I wanted to talk about this one regardless. But yeah, really, really cool stuff. I mean, it's really different from their earlier stuff. I mean, if you've heard their second or third albums, I mean, it's, again, kind of that typical early 2000s Viking folk metal sound. These 2 albums are, fantastic, regardless of that fact. But it has its sort of typical sound. I've held on those albums for many years. Really great records. And it was just really cool to see this band release a new album, because I thought they were, had called it quits way back in the day. But not the case. So yeah, dark, epic, heavy, you know, Viking folk metal. Kind of blackish metal, I guess, but to be fair, really the black metal is just in the vocal department. I think it was about 3 albums ago for this guy, for this band, Jens Ryden, the old singer from Nagelfar, the Swedish band, the Swedish melodic death metal band. He joined these guys, and I mean, his vocal, I mean, it's really, he was always one of my favorite vocalists on the old Nagelfar albums, and yeah, man, this is just a fantastic job. It's cool hearing him scream in Swedish as opposed to English as he did back in the day, and he does just a fantastic job. It's very diverse vocally, you know, from, I mean, his vocals are quite different from those high-pitched shrieks he used to do back in the day. It's more, it's more just what you'd expect out of, I guess, a Viking black metal band, so to speak. But there's also like this epic chants and stuff like that, spoken parts, you know, you kind of can probably imagine what you get, but it's just a really cool record. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's one that I felt like you gotta listen to from start to finish, but yeah, it's just great stuff. So there's the front cover, and really cool artwork on this one right from the get-go. It comes in this awesome digipack. There's a picture of the band on the back here. Inside the digipack. Got a little fold-out thing going here with more artwork. Very cool. And it's got a booklet in there you can check out. So there's again the front cover. Lyrics. Very cool layout for this one. Pictures of the band. Yeah. Killer stuff, man. Pages there. 2 more pages there. And yeah. So hell yeah, man, very cool album. Again, you know, if you're into any sort of, like, dark, melodic, pagan, Viking, folk black metal, you're definitely going to enjoy this album. I mean, this one just, it oozes heaviness. It's just, you know, I listen to this record, I just want to go downstairs and grab the sword out of our living room, just conquer the neighbors and stuff. It's a good record, man. I love it. Of course, Bathory has this, you know, a small influence here in that record. You can hear it. It's pretty obvious at times, but it's not really in like the Bathory style, so to speak. But I would like to think that the Bathory Viking albums have infinitely influenced tons of bands out there, and Thyrfing is surely no exception. So yeah, it's Thyrfing and their relatively new album Vanagandar. Alright, ever onwards, and a little bit change of pace with this collection update. We're not just talking about black metal this time around. In fact, the next release I'm going to talk about has absolutely no black metal in it, but has a very strong black metal connection. So, the band in question is Storm, and their one and only album from 1995, Nordavind. Storm is a band I have known about for decades, literally. When I was first getting into black metal, I heard about this album. I heard it was a folk metal masterpiece. Okay, well, I think one of the reasons why it is often considered to be a folk metal masterpiece is just because of the 2 people involved in it. Of course, it is a project of Fenris from Darkthrone, Isengard, and, you know, several other projects, and Satyr Wangraven from Satyricon, and, you know, so on and so forth. It also features the female vocals of Kari Ruslaten, who at the time was in a doom metal band known as The Third and Immortal. She later went on to a, I guess, pretty successful pop career. Originally, when she first started her solo career, it was actually sort of a pop-focused style, which is actually really good, but it seems that she sort of disowned that album, as it's not even on any streaming services or anything like that. And then later on, she went in more of this, I don't know, sort of like Tori Amos, Kate Bush kind of style. Just some stuff that's a little more electronic she did later on. I don't know. I imagine she's been pretty successful with it, but, you know, that's another story, of course. But anyway, Storm and their 1995 debut, Nordavind. Well, this is folk metal, pure folk metal. People call this a masterpiece, and I'm not trying to be like an asshole about this, but there's definitely been better folk metal. But here's the thing. 1995. Who else was doing folk versions of heavy metal songs? I mean, as I understand it, every song on this album is basically a metalized version of traditional Norwegian folk songs, which nowadays and in the past 20 years, 25 years, that's been a kind of common thing, really, where bands will do albums or even just single songs where they metalize their their traditional folk songs. So, and to the best of my knowledge, this was the first band to do it. Yeah, man. I mean, other than like Skyclad or something like that, where they even, I think they were a power metal band from England? I don't know. But they were maybe they were the first folk metal band. I don't know. But this was the first more, I guess, underground, black metal related folk metal album. It features almost entirely cleanly sung vocals from Fenris, from Darkthrone, of course. And I've always had a pretty big hang-up with Fenris' clean vocals. I mean, I don't think he's good. I don't think he's good at all. On almost every occasion, even on Isengard albums where he does clean vocals, he sounds like he's just drunk and just, I know he just sounds like this happy sailor or something that's singing songs in the docks, and I don't know, it's not really my thing. And I always made the joke that the Isengard albums where he's singing clean vocals sounded like Weird Al Yankovic doing a folk metal album, because that's kind of what it sounds. It sounds ridiculous. I mean, you've probably at this point heard what Fenris' clean vocals sound like, and yeah. As for Satyr, he does, I believe he plays all the guitar, and he does some just kind of raspy, grim vocals on one song, that's it. And then Carrie, she does, the backing female vocals here and there, and of course Fenris plays the drums. Again, I guess this album has a hell of a reputation as being a masterpiece, but I don't know, man. It's just, maybe you gotta be Norwegian or have Norwegian roots to truly appreciate it. I don't know, man. But a lot of it just sounds kind of hokey to me because of Fenris' vocals. If he had been a stronger vocalist, if perhaps Carrie had taken the lead vocal role, this would have been a much more appealing, at least to my taste, kind of record. The version I have here is almost certainly a bootleg. I have seen people charging crazy amounts for the original Moonfog pressing. I bought this from a guy in Disguise who's from Poland. It's probably a bootleg, whatever. It's fine, I don't care. But yeah, it's I looked at actually Metal Archive. There's several bootleg versions of it, so I'm pretty sure this is one of the bootleg versions. So anyway, that's pretty much Storm. I mean, if you are really into folk metal with Norwegian lyrics, obviously, and or if you just really fancy Satyr and Fenris, want to hear everything they've done, well, this is worth checking out. But I don't know. I don't know. So there's the front cover, pretty minimal, just the moon. The back cover, track listing. Interesting thing about this record too is that I guess some of the lyrics were changed, from being, whatever the lyrics were originally about, to having some sort of anti-Christian sentiments to them. And apparently, after the record was released, Carrie was extremely pissed at Fenris and Satyr for doing that, and she completely distanced herself from them. And I think this was also something of a catalyst for her to distance herself from all underground heavy metal and pursue a solo career that was quite different. I don't know. Or maybe she just grew up more and just didn't want to do it, have anything to do with heavy metal. I don't fucking know. But yeah, it definitely could be said that this album is, an influencer, no doubt about it, because I don't know any other band in 1995 that was doing something like this, but I mean, just because you're an influencer doesn't necessarily automatically mean, you've created a masterpiece. Some people feel very differently about this album. I don't know. So maybe I have to listen to it more. I've listened to it 5 or 6 times since I got it a few months ago, and I'm still just it's okay. I like the folky raw guitars it has and all that kind of stuff, but yeah. There's also quite a few other bands named Storm throughout the history of heavy metal, so I think there's actually even another black metal band from Norway who were called Storm. They did a couple demos in right around the same time period, but this is obviously the the Fenrys, Seder, Longraven, side project, no Storm. So anyway, yeah, that's Storm and that's Nordabin. Alright, well we're continuing on with a band that, in the grand scheme of things, I feel has always been a bit underrated. The band in question is Mörk Gryning and their second album, Return Fire. This being a recent 2020 reissue on Season of Mist. So, I first discovered Mörk Gryning back around like 2008, 2009. Their debut album, Tusen Arharagat, is absolutely one of the best albums to emerge out of the Swedish melodic black metal scene, and this band is very comparable to stuff like Dissection, Sacramentum, Winterland, Dawn. You know the names. You know what to compare to. It's very similar. But somehow I have always just loved this album the most. There's just really beautiful guitar melodies, just some acoustics, some synthy parts. Just it's a fantastic album. That remember when I bought this off of eBay back then? I scored it for like $8. I mean, that's the original pressing there too. I mean, I bought that album. I bought their third album, and then I bought their other two albums that came in the early 2000s, and I had them all. I was really obsessed with the band for a while. I really enjoyed them, but for whatever reason, I could not find their second album, Return Fire. It was out of print. It was hard to get, and even though the first album was super cheap, the second album was always going for like $30-40 on eBay, and I was like, what the fuck, man? So I was really obsessed with the band, and I couldn't hear this album. It kind of pissed me off, you know? So to get a reissue now all these years later is pretty awesome, although I guess the obsession is sort of worn off at this point, but it was great to finally hear this album. So anyway, Return Fire was their second album, released in 1997. Again, Mörk Gryning is that, melodic, blackened death metal, that Dissection pioneered in the early 90s. This album in particular, though, they seem to have gone in a much more aggressive and fast pace. I don't know if their country mates in, like, Dark Funeral or Marduk or Ethereal influenced them some way or not, but much faster, much more brutal, but still lots of very, melodic parts, some synth parts here. Cool solos, and really just aggressive, grim vocals. Yeah, man, it's super good stuff. I mean, it comes with a Slayer cover at the end, which is really cool too. But it definitely represents a much more brutal and pissed off, hate-filled version of this band. Yeah, man. The evolution of this band has been kind of peculiar because their first album, was very melodic and, not particularly fast. This one's much faster. Then their third album, Maelstrom Chaos, they went in a style much more comparable to the first album. Then after that, one of the members left, and then they went in this sort of, I don't know, man. It was like really generic, like melodic death metal. It was bad. I saw those albums quite a few years ago already. They were not good. But yeah, going back to these first two albums, the band was just a duo of two people, one known as Goth Gorgon and the other one known as Drak Chimera. They were both quite young when Tusen Arharagat came out. One member was only 15, the other one was 18, so, to put so much talent on display at such a young age is pretty fucking awesome, man. But, yeah, this was, definitely much more aggressive and just pissed off sounding version of that, A good continuation of their sound, and like I said, it's great to finally hear this all these years later, but, yeah, man, I guess I'll always prefer Tusen Arharagat as opposed to this, or anything else they've released for that matter, but, great album nonetheless. I really like it. It's definitely like a much more, melodic, version of, maybe Marduk or something. I don't know. It's hard to say. It sort of has the feel of their first album, but then, like I said, much more brutal, much more intense kind of sounding recording. Yeah. So, anyway, there's the front cover. There's a little pull-up booklet here. So, as I said, this is the 2020 Season of Mist reissue. Season of Mist reissue, sorry. Lyrics, artwork, band members. The band was still a duo on this album. They later on would expand to being like a 5-piece. That's when they went in the more melodic death metal direction. Yeah, man, cool stuff. That's a final thought, and this was really unexpected, but I'm going to be seeing these guys live in Chicago next Sunday, so May 1st, so if by chance any of you guys are going to be there, if anyone watches this video wants to, say hi or whatever, fuck yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I know they released a new album back in 2020 when they made their comeback, so I'm eager to see what that sounds like, and of course eager to hear these old ones from back in the day too. Should be a cool show. So anyway, that's Mörk, Gryning, and Return Fire. Alright, continuing forward, we're going to talk about Manii and their album Senets Irrgange, a Norwegian black metal band which has reunited the two original members from Manie's, Serunas and Sargatanas, to create music that is, very comparable to the early Manie's demos in their first album, Under Bloodrod, something or another Manii, whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it, but perhaps you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, if you know Manie's history, after the debut album, they went this more electronic and, jazz and experimental direction, very comparable to the bullshit that Ulver's done over the years. But whereas some of the Ulver bullshit has actually been good, some of the Manii stuff I've heard is just, not good. I don't know what else to say. So, when Manii debuted back in 2013, a buddy of mine got me into their first album, Collapse. And for what it's worth, this is absolutely one of the best Norwegian black metal albums released in the past 20 years. Do not overlook this album. It is a fucking masterpiece. This is a rare move for me, is that I bought this album both CD and vinyl. It is just an amazingly atmospheric, sort of black metal, sort of doomish metal record, because most of the music moves at a very slow pace, but it's pure black metal still, but just an incredible record that unfortunately really fell under the radar, which is a shame. So that was 2013 for that one, and Senets Irrgange came out back in 2018. When I saw it, I was absolutely thrilled to get this album, but I don't know what happened. I just kind of sat on it for a while, man. I think it was because I was only seeing it being released on, international labels, and you gotta figure Euro prices, Euro shipping, all that bullshit. Sometimes it just turned out to be a lot of money. Now that I think about it, I don't recall where I bought. Oh no, I got it off a guy in Discogs who was from the USA. That's how I got it. Yeah, man, and so I think I bought this actually already back in March of last year. So yeah, I've had it for a while, but I've listened to it a lot. I absolutely love this album, man. So I have to talk about whatever. I don't know what the collection update rules are. Fuck, I don't care. So back in March of 2021, I was still doing landscaping for a living. And back in the winter, springish of 2021, it snowed a lot in my hometown. It snowed a fucking lot. And back then I was doing landscaping, and one of the things I was doing back then was plowing snow early in the morning. And the first time I heard this album, I was actually in the work truck at one of our properties plowing snow, and just, wow, man, just this album, like, really anything from this band combined with like wintry weather and being immersed in a snowy wintry landscape is just immense, man. It was, I just left this album in the fucking truck playing all day, just over and over, and it was just amazingly atmospheric. Just wow, man, this is so fucking good, man. A noticeable difference between this album and say the debut is that there's a drummer who joined the band as opposed to having programmed drums, and there's some much more brutal parts on this album, but generally speaking, they've still maintained that same sort of just really true, dark, atmospheric black metal, intermingled with something with doom metal characteristics. Lots of synthesizers, really grim, evil-sounding vocals, and oh man, it's awesome. The album itself is actually pretty short. It's like only like 26 minutes, but this, I guess, Digipack reissue here has the Skogenheimen EP, which came out in, I believe, 2015 as a bonus, so the total time is up to like, I don't know, something like 36 minutes or something like that. But man, other than like the production differences between the Skugenheimen EP and this album, it's fantastic stuff, man. The difference being that the Skugenheimen EP is really loud, so when you get to the last two songs, it's like, whoa, the fucking volume suddenly jumps in. You know, it's kind of weird, but I wish they would have mastered it differently where it would have been more similar, but whatever, it is what it is. So anyway, just phenomenal stuff. True Norwegian black metal. If you have somehow overlooked this band, be it this album or their debut Collapse, dude, change that immediately. I don't care how much you gotta pay, but if you like heavily synth-driven black metal with just an amazingly dark atmospheric feel to it, you have to hear this band. So there's their front cover, you know, super cool artworks and really grim, fucking decaying. I don't know. That's yeah, man. Back cover. Inside the digipack here. Yeah, man. Oh man, this is a fantastic album. It's sort of hard for me to say. Well, the first time I do still like more. It's just the thing about the first time that I really love is there's just such just creepy, haunting riffs and the synths. It's so atmospheric, man. I mean, this album, you know, again, carries in that same style, but it's not quite the same. But still, nevertheless, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, essential stuff. If you've not heard Manii, change that immediately. Get this album or Collapse. Fantastic, true Norwegian black metal, essential stuff, man. Right, one more for this collection update, and this is complete bullshit, but here we go. Twilight Opera and their old album, Shadows Embrace the Dark. So, about 4 months ago, I guess, I was buying some CDs from a guy on Discogs, and he had a copy of this for $5, and I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna get it. And here's why. When I was first getting into black metal, there was this website I was often returning to called, I mean, I'm not exactly sure of the name, but I believe the website was called Perkele, the Finnish hell of metal underground, or something like that. Maybe some of you remember it, I don't remember. But it was basically a website just totally dedicated to Finnish black metal and melodic death metal in general. That kind of thing, you know, it was a site dedicated to Finnish metal. I remember seeing this band on there and being like, that looks interesting. And I remember in particular, there was a photo of the band where there was like some chick that was like on some of this like X-frame kind of thing, and she was like basically nude. And I was a teenager, so I was like, well, fuck yeah, that's cool. I like nudity. I like boobies. But then I never got the CD back then. I completely forgot about it until maybe like 2004, 2005. This guy that was writing for my zine back then, his name was Donald, and he was obsessed with this fucking band. He wrote these reviews for his first two albums. It was like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing that I've ever heard. It's melodic, vampiric black metal with a lot of synths. It's the best thing ever. And he did an interview with the band, which I guess now I'm going to have to fucking post because I've talked about them. But, I had meant to check it out back then because he gave it such a high rating, but I just didn't. So then, you know, we're literally flash forwarding like 20 years from when I first heard the band, then 15 years from when I read reviews and all that stuff or whatever, you know. So it's been a long time. So Twilight Opera, what is this band? Well, basically this band is Finland's answer to Cradle of Filth. Yeah. It was originally released in 1998 on Cacophonous Records from the UK, of course. So right away you see that there's a connection to Cradle of Filth because they had their first two records released on that label. And this is pretty much Cradle of Filth worship. Well, actually I shouldn't say that. Musically it's much more synth-driven, whereas I guess a lot of the early Cradle of Filth had more discernible guitar riffs. And this album, the synths are the main thing here. They take the forefront, whereas the drums and the guitars are kind of pushed more back into the background, which is unfortunate because it sounds like there are some cool riffs being played. It's just the production is total shit. There's also some occasional female backing vocals, which again, you know, kind of has that connection to Cradle of Filth. The main vocals, however, are all done in sort of a grunting death metal style. Then there's some occasional raspy vocals too. Nothing that's, you know, totally trying to emulate Danny Filth or anything, but just the feel of this music and the time frame it was released and the label connection to it, it's definitely got that Cradle of Filth influence. And I mean, no doubt about it, back in the late 90s, Cradle of Filth was one of the most popular I shouldn't say black metal. Don't say Cradle of Filth is black metal. Cradle of Filth was one of the most popular gothic metal bands of the time. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is melodic, gothic, black metal with lots of synths. I mean, I wish the guitars were a little more discernible, of course, but like I said, the production sucks. So it's unfortunate. I mean, had the album sold well, I guess there could have been a possibility of a remaster years later, but the band only released, like, I think 4 albums, and I think as they progressed, they went even further down, like, the gothic, industrial wormhole, and I can only assume it's fucking just pitiful sounding, but I guess they had their fans because they stuck around for about 10 years or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, now that I finally heard this album, I'm not as impressed as I was hoping I was going to be, but for $5, what the fuck, man, I guess. And so, yeah, front cover we have probably one of the most ridiculous album covers I've ever seen. Just this vampiric chick, and I don't know why, but I see this cover and I'm just like, oh, hi, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, there's the back cover, track listing, and once again she makes an appearance. And I believe, though I could be wrong, I think the female vocalist in the band is actually the cover model too. Yeah. So, on cover again. Lyrics. Band members' photos in the back. Fortunately, when I was just looking up a little information about this band, I read that their vocalist had passed away back in 2004 from stomach cancer. Really unfortunate. And then there's a picture of the band. Yeah. So, just to reiterate, if you're really into like that late 90s Cradle of Filth style, you might enjoy this. I enjoy it for what it is. I mean, it's total cheese, obviously, but I've listened to it like 5 times or something since I bought it, which is usually a bit more than I listen to some albums I buy. So all things considered, I guess I've given this, I got my $5 out of it. Yeah. It's certainly no classics, certainly nothing mandatory, but if you're into that Cradle of Filth style, maybe even D-Move Warrior, I don't fucking know. You might enjoy this. Anyway, Twilight Opera, Shadows, Embrace the Dark. Alright guys, thanks for joining me for another episode of Joe's Metal Mancave. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Some interesting and, you know, a bit more diverse selection of stuff there. I know I've always kind of said I want to center this vlog around black metal, but, you know, as it is, I listen to a lot of different metal and a lot of different music in general. Just, you know, continuing forward is going to be, you know, more black metal collection updates. My wife wants to get involved with the vlog a little bit more too once she gets done with her bachelor's degree, which is rapidly approaching, which is good. And we're going to do an episode kind of more centered around like melodic death metal, because that's more of her favorite thing. So look for that in, you know, maybe the next month or so. So it should be pretty cool and something a little bit different too. But generally speaking, when I'm just doing these by myself, it's mostly going to be centered around black metal. So anyway, thanks as always. Really appreciate everyone that's been subscribing. The subscribers have been pretty consistent. I mean, it seems like every video, you know, the count's going up. So thank you guys so much for that. Really awesome. It's great to see the channel growing. Great to see you digging these videos and all that. And lots more to come because I have bought a shit ton of stuff recently. So much so that I have to take a break from buying stuff because I can't appreciate the records. And if it gets to the point where I'm not even able to appreciate the records, it's like, whoa, dude, whoa, you gotta slow down. Like, anyone that's into this kind of music and they know the feels, like, it's just, you hear about a band, you're like, oh, I gotta buy it, but slow down, dude, you gotta chill. You gotta just stop and appreciate this stuff a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna take a month off or 2 from buying stuff and just get myself caught up, and yeah, we'll go from there. So anyway, I'm Joe, this is Joe's Metal Mancave. See you next time. Bye.